House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan is with us. You know, you were on this program an awful lot during that time, Congressman, and this is what your committee is now looking into. Is our FBI politicized? Has it been weaponized? Because we did not hold these people accountable in 2016, they were very emboldened, it seems, in 2020, weren't they? At the FBI putting cinder blocks on the scales of that election, along with active CIA agents and former intel officials, right?
Well, Sean, think about it. In 2016, it was the Clinton campaign working with the FBI to go after President Trump and his election, his campaign. In 2020, it was 51 former CIA agents and intel officials working with the Biden campaign to do the same thing. So we've seen it twice now. One, it was the FBI. The second one, it was former intel officials, but the same objective, to go after President Trump and keep him from being president. This report was as tough as you could get. It said the Comey FBI failed to uphold its mission of fidelity to the law. Think about that. Failed to follow the laws, what it found. No evidence, no predicate, no evidence whatsoever to start this investigation. And then they talked about a trusted source who came to him and said, hey, this really looks like it's the Clinton campaign making it all up to go after President Trump. And they dismissed that evidence and they went after him nonetheless. That's how bad this is. That's what this report shows. And the only way we can hold them accountable is to go at the one thing that everybody cares about, the money. We have to look at the appropriation. That's the only leverage we ultimately have in Congress. We have to look at the power of the purse if we're ever going to get control of these agencies who did this not just once, but multiple times.
How is it possible it took so long? The evidence was right out there in front of everybody's eyes if they wanted it. Mr. Higher Loyalty, James Comey, and how is it they all get off scot-free? Why do I believe that if any conservative was involved in any effort like this to alter an election in this country and tip the scales of balance in an election and spread outright Russian lies like this, there would be consequences, especially members of the FBI that have been politicized?
Yeah, no, it's the double standard, and you're right. If this was conservatives who were involved in anything like this, they'd be going after him nonstop. But when it's the other way around, you never see him actually being held to account. That's why we have to look at the power of the purse. We have to look at the appropriations process. I mean, this report, it talked about this Danchenko, who was the subsource for Steele. Danchenko was investigated 12 years ago for espionage. And then what did the Comey FBI do? They paid him to go validate the Steele dossier, which he couldn't do. That's how bad this thing was. I mean, and what they put the country through. Remember, this was 3 years. All we ever heard about was Russia and Mueller and this investigation and collusion and coordination. None of it was true, all based on a lie. And most importantly, the FBI knew it was a lie. They had no evidence. The report's very clear in the executive summary. No evidence whatsoever to commence this operation, to commence Crossfire Hurricane. They had none. They did it anyway. They put our country through it. That is the true threat to democracy we face today, is when entities and agencies in our government behave like this FBI did.
I want to ask you this. Are you talking about defunding the FBI and maybe even the CIA or a reorganization? Christopher Wray, he could have gotten to the bottom of this. He decided not to. And then on top of that, now we have 2020. FBI has a copy of Hunter Biden's laptop in December of 2019. They verify it in the spring of 2020. But yet FBI agents in the lead up to the 2020 presidential election are meeting weekly with big tech, warning big tech they may be victims of a disinformation campaign about Joe and Hunter Biden, hence the censoring of that laptop story. Yeah. Then we've got the 51 dirty intel agents, as Miranda Devine called them, and they're signing off on it. And you said last week, John Brennan admitted that his signature was purely political?
Yeah. No, the Clinton campaign was where this whole dossier started. They took it to the FBI. They got it to the FBI. The Biden campaign is where the letter from the 51 former intel officials started. It was Tony Blinken who prompted Mike Morrell. It's the same pattern. Create the lie. Big media runs with the lie. Big tech amplifies the lie. When we try to tell the truth, they call us names. They call us Russian sympathizers. They attack you, and the press is so eager to do that. And then ultimately, in the end, the one thing that is always proven right is we were right about about it all along. The only thing we had wrong is in both situations, it was worse than we thought. So we got to keep talking about it. We got to pass legislation if we can to deal with it. And then we have to look at the money, the appropriations, and say, how can we direct these funds? How can we better position these funds? What can we do to stop this from happening in the future?
All right, Jim Jordan, great work. We'll continue to watch what you're doing in the Judiciary Committee.